The night the mob burned down the cursed house in our village, everyone thought the nightmare was over. But evil has its own way of returning, like smoke rising from ashes, finding new cracks to crawl into. This time, the whispers pointed not to strangers, but to the very man everyone respected most, the village chief. It began with a discovery: dried blood inside his wooden shed, and streaks of red across one of his bolos. An old woman testified she had seen him past midnight, walking away from the shed, the blade still wet with blood. She swore it was the chief, for no one else had his unmistakable face. An ageless man whose back never bent despite his years, his body still ramrod straight, his muscles taut like a man half his age. The whispers grew sharper. Why was he still alone? Why had time been so kind to him when everyone else grew old? Cornered by gossip, the chief addressed the people. Standing before the plaza, he spread his arms wide, his voice steady. "Why do you look at me as though I am a demon?" he demanded. "Come, see for yourselves. I have nothing to hide." He opened his house. He showed the feast he had prepared, the slaughtered carabao and pig, their blood staining the shed. Laughter replaced suspicion. The villagers, ashamed of their doubts, accepted his explanation. But the truth always lingers like smoke. That same night, an old man knocked on the chief's door. He was polite, almost apologetic for disturbing him so late. He said he was leaving for the Visayas to consult with relatives, and asked the chief to watch over his nieces and nephews in his absence. The chief agreed, promising to care for them. Then he returned to his cooking, humming softly, as though nothing in the world was wrong. The fiesta came and went, colorful, joyous, drowning in food and drunken laughter. By nightfall, the village slipped into silence. Except for the drunk stumbling home, the streets were empty. It was a moonless night, a perfect night for shadows. At 10 o'clock, Lovenami 76, a grandmother of 2, was startled awake by the sound of a baby crying. She froze. Her grandsons were asleep upstairs. Who, then, was crying? She lit her old oil lamp and followed the sound to the back of her house. The overgrown bushes swayed as the wail grew louder. Pushing through the grass, she found him, a mud-covered toddler, shivering, crying. She recognized him instantly as the neighbor's child. She carried him inside, cleaned him, and noticed a strange birthmark on his back, shaped like an animal. Within minutes, the boy was fast asleep. Elsewhere in the village, Ventura was closing her small pub. She was stacking chairs when she froze. A massive black pig stood before her. Its body was unnaturally hairy, its fangs overlapping, its eyes glowing red. Her heart pounded. She backed away slowly, never taking her eyes off it. Suddenly, the pig charged. Layla screamed, a scream so raw it tore the silence. But instead of attacking, the pig veered off, bolting into the night, as if something about her shriek had scared it. Meanwhile, Ms. Tikankang, the Hermana mayor of the fiesta, was preparing for bed. After a long day of hosting, she slipped into her nightdress and lay down. That was when she saw it. Thin, thread-like filaments, needle-sharp, lowering toward her stomach. Panicked, she grabbed scissors from her bedside and cut them. The night split with an inhuman shriek. From above, massive wings flapped as something flew away into the darkness. On the floor lay what she had cut. It wasn't thread, it was a tongue, a monstrous, wet, bloodied tongue. Her father, Ebong the Traveler, rushed into the room. When he saw it, his face paled. "You've cut the tongue of a wakwak," he whispered. "A demon that feeds on the unborn, my child. It was after you." Miss Tikankang trembled, confused, until her father's words sank in. She didn't yet know she was carrying life inside her, and once again, the village was plunged into terror. Pregnant women, missing children, strange beasts in the night. Why always here? Why always us? The answer was yet to come, but one thing was certain. The evil had not left, it had only changed faces. When you live in a small village, nothing spreads faster than gossip, except maybe winged monsters with missing tongues and giant hairy pigs chasing after poor Ventura. Yes, dear reader, just like that, the villagers went back to whispering in the alleys, murmuring in the rice fields and speculating over their morning coffee. Who's the winged monster, huh? Didn't Mang Tomas look pale last night? Maybe it's that hairy pig we saw, wasn't it hanging around Ventura? No, It's definitely my ex. He already acts like a monster. While everyone was busy pointing fingers, Lovenami 76 had her own morning surprise. She woke up, stretched her arms and gasped. The boy she had helped the other night was gone from her bed. Now, before your imagination goes wild, no, she wasn't kidnapped. And no, she didn't lose her slippers running after an ass swang. Instead, she dashed to her neighbor's house like a woman possessed. "Kuya," she said, panting, "is your younger brother, the one I cleaned up last night, already here?" The older boy sheepishly nodded. "Yes, Po, sorry, Po. My younger brother, sometimes sleepwalks, especially when he's hungry at night." Lovenami 76 blinked. "So you're telling me, all this time I thought there was a monster attack and it was just midnight snacking with extra cardio?" Relieved, she exhaled deeply. The boy's brother even thanked her, as if she had saved the village from his sibling's sleepwalking career. On the way to the plaza, as she left the neighbor's house, fate decided to add some drama. She bumped into none other than Ventura, who was marching toward the town plaza. Naturally, they walked together, discussing what was happening in their beloved yet cursed village. Further ahead, they saw Ms. Tikankang escorted by her father, Ebong, the traveler. With perfect timing, as if they were all characters in a teleserie, they paused, greeted each other, and Miss Tikankang narrated her horrifying story of the previous night. By the time the trio arrived at the plaza, it felt less like a morning stroll and more like a trauma-sharing session sponsored by barangay gossip. The plaza was already packed, mothers clutching their children, old men holding bolos just in case, and the village chief standing dramatically on stage, like he was about to announce the winner of Miss Barangay 1979. "Mga kababayan," the chief began, raising his hand like a prophet. "Last night I too witnessed strange happenings, but let me assure you I will not abandon this village. I have already decided to travel to the next town to consult a hunter, not just any hunter, Bong GESMUNDO." Gasps filled the air. Yes, Bong GESMUNDO, the legendary monster hunter, rumored to have slain an aswang in Budol Lang Malakas. Some said he fought with silver daggers. Others claimed he used garlic, salt, and occasionally Vicks Vapo Rub for stubborn spirits. The villagers' eyes sparkled with hope. Finally, a hero. 2 nights later, the town was once again silent. People tried to sleep, but you know how it is. Every creak in the house sounded like a monster with indigestion. That same night, Tanigawa, a maiden as beautiful as the Empress of Japan, decided to take a bath. The moonlight kissed her skin. The water rippled gently until she froze. From the slit of her roof, a pair of red, glowing eyes stared at her. Not the eyes of a suitor, not even a pervy neighbor. This was something much, much worse. Screaming, Tanigawa bolted out of her house, almost bare naked, tripping on her own shadow. Just when she thought the monster would catch her, she stumbled into a broad chest. Bong GESMUNDO himself had arrived. Like a scene from a slow-motion action film, he wrapped his arms around her, poised to attack whatever dared follow. For the first time, Tanigawa felt safe, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit in love, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. When the Tianak came back for midnight snacks, now that the so-called savior, Bong GESMUNDO, had arrived in our humble village, peace seemed to flutter back like a moth lured by a kerosene lamp. Farmers returned to their carabaos and crops, fishermen braved the sea again, and children once more chased each other in the streets, without the fear of being swooped up by some winged monstrosity and used as a midnight pulutan. The village chief, ever the showman, was busy making house-to-house visits, smiling wide, reminding everyone that yes, indeed, normal life had returned, as long as Bong GESMUNDO was just around the corner. Lovenami 76, she'd completely erased the strange incident with the mysterious young boy from her memory. Selective amnesia, perhaps, or just too much Katinko fumes. Ventura, she convinced herself that the hairy giant pig was history. Maybe, just maybe, the beast was somebody's crispy lechon kawali by now. Ms. Tikankang? Well, she was glowing, conceiving a child, praying it wouldn't come out with wings or fangs. Ebong the traveler? Back to ferrying souls to far-off destinations, hopefully still the living kind. Tanigawa? Always fluttering near Bong GESMUNDO like a moth around his divine light. Meanwhile, gossip, the true electricity of the village, traveled faster than 5G. Everyone buzzed about the grand wedding of MG BUAT and honey official. The groom, the richest cattle and gold magnate in Mountainous Ridge. The bride, a beauty so dazzling her hair could star in a shampoo commercial without CGI. And with only 5 days until the new moon wedding, the villagers were drunk on excitement, preparing outfits and brushing off the scent of fear. The monsters. Forgotten. The past horrors. Buried. Until one night. When Katinko meets chaos. It started with Lovenami 76 performing her nightly ritual, smearing Katinko on her knees and hips while humming Titanium, because nothing says self-care like smelling like a walking menthol factory. Just as she was finishing her spa session, she heard it. A faint baby's cry, soft but unsettling, echoed from behind her house. Now, to any normal human, that would be the cue to lock the door, dive under the blanket and pray. But not Lovenami 76. With the confidence of someone who has lived through too many barangay gossip sessions, she thought, that must be the neighbor's boy sleepwalking again. She grabbed her trusty oil lamp and stepped outside. She knew the usual path, the usual bushes. But this time when she parted the grass, she saw him. A small boy, hunched, hissing. "Anak, okay ka lang ba?" she asked softly. No reply. Just that unsettling hunch. So, like any responsible tita, she tapped his shoulder. The boy spun around, and that's when she saw it. Red, bulging eyes that glowed like Christmas lights powered by rage. Teeth so sharp and long, they could shred tenderloin into tapa in one bite. A voice, guttural and hungry, snarled at her, "Kakainin kita, gutom na ako." The chase nobody expected. Lovenami 76 froze. Then, summoning her inner diva, she screamed, not words of prayer, not cries of help, but one random stanza from her favorite song. Imagine sprinting away from a demon while unconsciously belting out a pop hit. And sprint she did. Forget the arthritis, forget the cramps. Her legs moved like they hadn't since the Barangay Fiesta dance contest of 1987. She ran until her knees betrayed her, collapsing in the middle of the street. Desperate, she screamed for help. "Mga kababayan, may tiyanak na umaatake sa akin, tulungan niyo ako." Her cry cut through the night air faster than a chismis about who didn't to bring pulutan to the last inhuman. Within minutes, the men of the village poured out with bolos in one hand, torches in the other, like a budget version of a medieval monster hunting guild. And there on the rooftops the horror revealed itself. The Tiyanak hopping from roof to roof, laughing, hissing, and declaring to the entire town, "Kakainin ko kayo, wala akong ititira sa inyo." The air froze. Mothers clutched their children. Old men gripped their bolos tighter. And then came the question that echoed like thunder. "Nasaan si GESMUNDO?" Where is our savior now? But the savior was nowhere to be found. The villagers were left trembling, staring at the rooftop terror, realizing they may have celebrated too soon. To be continued. And that, dear reader, is where I leave you. The night hangs heavy, the Tiyanak hops freely, and the question burns hotter than the torches in trembling hands. Where is GESMUNDO? Will he return before the new moon wedding? Or is our savior just another barangay ghost story in the making? Comment down below. Where do you think GESMUNDO really is? Drinking tuba, secretly a monster himself, or just overslept? Stay tuned for the next terrifying but slightly hilarious episode.